God of our local and global neighborhood, guide us in your truth and teach us again the lessons we need to learn. Through your loving instruction, may we be good neighbors and follow in the way of Christ. Amen. What's your relationship with your anger? I wonder if that's maybe a complicated question for some of us. Often those who have temper problems don't realize that they have temper problems. And for many of us, this question may seem strange because we don't get angry, right? We're not angry people. We're nice, good people. Sure, we get frustrated every now and again, but anger? No, we're beyond all that, right? We may think we've outgrown our anger or found a way around it, that we're so much better than those people with bad tempers. But all of us get angry. It's a natural, basic human emotion. And while we may not recognize our anger as anger, we may feel frustrated, hurt, resentful. That's a big one, I know. Or any other shade of red out there. As kids, our anger is so much more at the forefront. We haven't learned how to be socially acceptable with our feelings yet, right? When Lydia was 3, Blake told me this story this week, she was mad about something. We had to walk through a lot of anger lessons when she was little, and she hit him. And Blake said, hands are not for hitting. That's something that we worked through a lot when she was little. And so Lydia, being very smart, then grabbed a baby doll and proceeded to hit him with that. You know, she didn't quite get the lesson home there, but got to give it to her that she was smart and figured out a loophole. 3-year-olds. It's not unlike another 3-year-old named Taylor who wrote to Mr. Rogers and said, "The baby came to live at my house. I like her sometimes. Sometimes I want to sock her." Sometimes I want to sock her. Well, you know, if we all had that level of self-awareness, maybe we'd be better off. We all get angry. We adults may be better at suppressing our anger or hiding it, letting it go. Maybe we've learned to control it better than most 3-year-olds. Most of us don't walk around hitting other people or grabbing dolls to whack people. But anger can have dangerous effects on our lives. You know the Mentos and Coke bottle science thing where you put Mentos in the Coke and you let it, okay, so anger is like that sometimes. If we keep pushing down our anger and not dealing with it, that simmering resentment will one day just explode all over us or everyone. In this series that we're in, we've been learning from the spiritual wisdom of Mr. Rogers, who was a Presbyterian pastor, as well as a television host of the kids show, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. And one of his big teachings that he came back to again and again and again was that it's okay to be angry. That's not a message that I think we hear that often, especially in Christian circles. We may have been taught when we were little that anger itself is a sin. But Mr. Rogers had a different understanding of anger. When he was a kid, he was bullied by kids that called him Fat Freddy and would chase him home. Now, the adults in his life told him, just act like it doesn't bother you. Just a pretty okay advice, except young Mr. Rogers took that to mean that it shouldn't bother him and felt like he couldn't express the sadness, the hurt, the anger that he felt. Nobody ever taught him how to deal with his anger. And so as an adult, he was convinced and convicted that children needed to know that their anger was okay and that we all have a right to be angry. Seems counterintuitive, right? Again, many of us have been taught that anger is sinful. But Mr. Rogers thought that anger and dealing with our anger in healthy, constructive ways ultimately could increase love and peace in the world. Now, the Bible doesn't speak that much about the psychology of anger, although we do hear a lot about anger in the Bible. But we hear in Ephesians today this verse that I think really sums up what Mr. Rogers thought. Be angry, it says, but be angry without sinning. Meaning it's okay to be angry, but as Mr. Rogers said, it's not okay to hurt someone. That's another lesson that we tried to teach Lydia when she was really little. Be angry without sinning. There's a way to deal with our anger that doesn't hurt ourselves or other people, and ignoring it doesn't actually work. Anger is a part of our human experience, but it can lead to sin. I think of the story of Cain and Abel, the children of Adam and Eve. How Cain grew jealous of his brother Abel and how close Abel was to God. And in his anger, Cain picked up a rock and hit his brother in the head, killing him. Anger can lead to violence. It often does. But the more that we address and deal with our anger, the more practice we get at working through it, at channeling it, at expressing it in safe and healthy ways. And the good news is that God, Mr. Rogers believed, gave us this well of, I don't know what you call it, peace maybe, a healthy, deep reserve, he called it, that we can draw on to stop us from being violent. Anger can lead to love because as we're working out our anger, we come to know ourselves better and those around us. Our anger gives us clues about how things are in the world. We may be angry when we see injustice. We may feel angry when others hurt us and we realize we need to repair something in the relationship or set a boundary. We may be angry and just realize we need to take a step back and rest and take a break from the people who are causing us anger. Anger can somehow lead to love, but not if we ignore it or suppress it. It's okay to be angry, but it's not okay to hurt someone. Again, basics that we think we've all learned as children, but we may need to revisit as adults because we just get more creative with the ways that we hurt ourselves and other people. Mr. Rogers had a mentor, a psychologist, and she used to say, and he repeated it so often that it seemed like he had said it, anything that's human is mentionable, and whatever is mentionable is manageable. So this week, the challenge for you is to take whatever negative emotion you may feel and look out for it and share it with God in a truthful way. Connect with God over those hard places in your heart that maybe you feel guilty for feeling. Share that with God too. We can learn so much from our emotions when we work through them, when we sit with them, when we think about them and pray about them. God is okay when you get angry. God understands. And God is ready to help you, to work you through it, and to help you become a better, more loving person. Thanks be to God.